Before we get to your scheduled video, please remember that likes and comments tell YouTube to promote our work to other people, and subscribing to the channel tells you when something new drops. You can also head to the link tree in the description to peruse my books, join us on Discord, or support us on Patreon. You can get episodes of Journey of Wrestling and Violent Profiles early, as well as a load of other treats. Even just $1 a month earns you a name drop for being cool. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Greetings and salutations, fellow adult people who realize rather swiftly and with much shame that a lot of their interests are the same as the 9-year-old children of their adult friends. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the boy.
Hey!
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and today it is Halloween!
As we record this, it's
Halloween Eve.
But
And that is a special time for us.
for you, our lovely podcast listener, it will be that most Hallows of Eve. And we're here to talk about Freddy Fazbear.
We are, but there's 5 spooky little kid ghosts in this movie, and that's pretty cool. You know what else is cool?
5 spooky little patrons?
I think so. Who are I legally have the power to call them cool, assigned by the government, and they are cool for giving me $1 at least. And that would be a guy from Ohio, who did not tell us to watch this movie. We did it on our own. Rob, who is perennially cool. Harmony, Distrucity KTL, Passion Killer 711.
You could join this august body of cool people for simply $1 a month on Patreon. Did you check that?
Was I doing the Zoolander thing? Yes, I was.
But let's talk about Freddy.
Let's... I'm going to clear my throat a lot here. Is that really fun for you? That one was just me making a noise.
Yeah.
Like Cher Lloyd. You're welcome. So, let's talk about Freddy Fazbear and his fun time pizzeria. Nope, don't like that already.
Rolling it back instantly. Walking all the way back from pizzeria.
I just really wanted the alliteration, and then I got there and realized I didn't want that alliteration.
It looks like the guy on our thumbnail would like him a fun time pizzeria, though.
You know what? No judgment there.
This is a franchise that we have both been familiar with since it got big, because we both watched Markiplier at that time.
Mm-hmm. I still do, actually.
I still do occasionally, but it was a thing that we were both actively watching pretty much all his uploads when this became a thing. So we've seen the whole arc of this franchise, from weird indie horror game that one YouTuber likes, to weirdly mainstream children's franchise.
It's cool, right? It's scary and it feels adult, even though it really isn't. It is safety scissors.
Yeah, it's got spooky stuff going on, but nothing really overly graphic in any of the games, or minor spoilers, indeed in this movie.
Yeah, this is one of the tamest slashers I've ever seen, if you can call it that.
I don't know that I would.
I don't know that I would either, but I don't know that it fits into any other subgenre of spookums.
It's not... If I say children's horror movie, that brings a very specific kind of experience to mind, and the movie isn't that.
No.
It is, honestly, a pretty dour film for the most part.
It does have a big tonal shift about halfway through.
Yeah, and then it shifts back.
Yeah.
Like, there's a weird sequence in the middle of the movie that is totally separate from the rest of the movie pretty hard. But it is mostly a fairly dour film.
And I think everyone involved does a really good job. Obviously, Matthew Lillard in all his... He looks bald there because his hair is so dark on top. He's not, I promise you. In all of his glory, is front and center. Fantastic job by him and his portrayal. Josh Hutcherson, that is the first and last time you're going to hear me say his name. We call him Bread around here.
Because that's his name. He's Bread.
if you want to know why, ask in the comments. You might be able to figure it out yourself, but come on, give me that
Not
engagement.
a complex joke.
Yeah, give me the engagement is all I'm asking for. He's your primary character. And Piper Rubio, as his younger sister, she did a really good job too. Everyone else was good. You know, these are the standouts for me personally.
Yeah, I think... dropped a thing. I think that's fair.
You know, as much as your ass juggles shit silently on this podcast...
I am almost constantly juggling something over here, just bouncing it in between two hands.
It has been so long that... you have to. It's fine.
Yeah.
No one judges you out there, and if they do, fuck you. But you've been doing it for so long that I no longer have anxiety about it.
But, I mean, I agree entirely on who the standouts were. Chiefly for me, Matthew Lillard. Like, shining star with 2 scenes. Like, he's not in the movie much, but he makes the most of his minutes.
I guess let's make sure we get that spoiler-free review before we move into the rest of it. Mine is pretty brief. I really liked it. It was way better than I expected. I was really impressed by the fact that those are practical effects. They put a lot of love and care into the details, and it was a great adaptation of the lore, convoluted lore of the games.
My short version is, this is very much a case of I under-promised myself, and then the movie over-delivered. I assumed this was going to be terrible. Just, like, no frills, no bones, no mincing words. I thought this movie was going to be genuinely very bad.
I was expecting maybe either so bad it's good or just south of that.
I was very wrong, and thus a movie which was enjoyable, but it was more enjoyable because I was surprised at how good it was.
Yeah.
I like the chief. One of the chief things I like about the movie is someone who is only passingly familiar with the very convoluted, sort of retcon-filled lore of this franchise. I like that the movie wasn't really super overly concerned with spoon-feeding you things.
Yeah.
Making sure you catch every single Easter egg and every single this means this and this is a reference to this part in this game. It just lets things happen, and there's enough Easter eggs and references that, I mean, the guy who made the franchise was, like, the writer of the movie, so that's not super surprising. But there was enough there that you could tell the rest of the people who make the movie, even if they don't know much about it, because, like, real talk, there's a 0% likelihood Matthew Lillard knows fucking anything about Five Nights at Freddy's.
I mean, he knows now.
But you could tell everyone was having a good time and was there to deliver the product that this movie was deliver a product for the audience of this movie, which is fans of the franchise already. And I like that.
I think there was really only one time where they over-explained, they spoon-fed. But, like, my watermark for this is a pretty good movie in spite of terrible spoon-feeding is that one Hobbit movie.
Whichever one, yeah.
Whichever one with the gold. That
Lisa needs braces scene,
yeah. Played legit. If they had played it like the Lisa needs braces scene, it would have been kind of funny. But yeah, it wasn't that bad. So I'm pleased.
Yeah.
That's the spoiler-free version.
This was a pleasant experience, a fun little horror movie that is serious but doesn't take itself seriously, which I liked.
It takes itself as seriously as it needs to for what it is, and not an ounce more.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's Halloween, man. If you have little ones and they want to feel adult and watch a scary movie, I mean, you know, hey, use your own judgment. I'm an idiot and I don't have children.
But it's rated PG-13, so if you're generally comfortable with that sort of thing...
I think they say 2 swears and they're not the bad ones.
Yeah, we've said more swears where I have so far in this podcast.
I have too. I told you guys to go fuck yourselves if you judge my friend.
But, if you have kids and they know what Five Nights at Freddy's is, spoiler alert, if you have people who are currently kids in your house, they probably do.
They also have probably heard worse than we've said on this podcast.
On TikTok. But and they wanna watch a horror movie, but you're not really ready for them to watch Saw in your presence. You'd much rather prefer that they watch that on their own, on their phones when you're not looking, as is tradition. That's understandable. Throw on this. I think you'll all have a good time.
So something that makes me feel a little guilty is that I didn't realize that Matthew Lillard's role, we're venturing into spoiler territory now, was leaked wrong. I thought the studio was advertising him as the villain of the franchise. That's not the case. It got leaked almost immediately. Like some media website put out the wrong name instead of the fake name he uses at the beginning, Steve Raglan. And I guess I don't know if they went with it. I didn't see a lot of advertising for this.
It was one of those things where once it's leaked, the audience for this movie is people who are already fans. So once the cat's out of the bag, you can either like full copium about it, or you can just go with it.
Well, and I felt a little bad, not a lot, but a little bad, because you guys were like, Matthew Lillard's in this? And I'm like, yeah, he plays the villain. I didn't realize that was a ruse at all.
Let's be clear. It wasn't.
And well, I mean, he showed up and he basically twisted his curly mustache and went, I can't wait to murder some children later. But
like, the movie does the bare minimum effort to make it seem like Matthew Lillard isn't a creepy weirdo.
Yeah.
And that is only nominal.
This isn't William Afton. This is
a different
Steve Raglan. That's a name.
Yeah, it goes through the absolute minimum amount of effort, which is fine. I want that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's Matthew Lillard's wonderful, joyous performance as a weird pedophile murder man is.
Now, they never said specifically that he was a pedophile.
Yes, they went very original Nightmare on Elm Street with it, where he's definitely someone who kills children, and they only imply the other thing.
I mean, what is he doing with those kids until then? Who knows? You know, maybe playing with blocks. I don't know.
They only imply the other thing. They went original Nightmare on Elm Street, which I think is a classy move.
Well, and if you're going to market this to younger people at all, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
But it was still a ride for me because, you know, like I said, I hadn't been paying that much attention to the marketing. So when the cop character introduced herself as Vanessa, I went, oh. Because that's a pretty recent addition to the lore, all things considered.
Notably, I had no fucking idea who that was. My brain went. There was a moment after she introduced herself, and it was clear she was gonna be around for a second. When she enters the Freddy's, my brain went, who the hell is this? Wait, this is probably just a character you don't know. This is probably not some sort of original creation for the film. This is probably some ridiculously deep cut that you don't know. And it turns out, not ridiculously deep, but I was right about the rest.
Yeah. I thought it was cool that they worked her into it that early. It made her seem less like,
late addition to the franchise.
Yeah, less like the cousin Oliver of Five Nights at Freddy's. I was also not expecting us to get Springtrap.
Well, I mean, if you put him in the movie.
Well, you know, I guess because of the nature of Springtrap in the games, like when you fight him, when he's the enemy in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, he's already rotted and he was incinerated and he's like maybe a zombie or a ghost or something. You know, you're not expecting for Homeboy to don the suit. Like, maybe he'll show up as like the guy who sent him there was evil the whole time. And honestly, I kind of wondered if they weren't going to go the routes of the novels, which I haven't read, but I've read summaries of, where it talks a little bit more about like the backstory of the making of the robots and stuff like that.
Instead, we got Springtrap Origins.
I know. I was thrilled, and I cannot stop being enthusiastic about these animatronics, and they are animatronics. First of all, because they made them look like mediocre CGI.
It's the same phenomenon as the Hutts from the new Star Wars movies. That's just what the Freddy's mascots look like. They just kind of look like CGI, but because they made practical effects look like CGI as opposed to making CGI out of what used to be practical effects and clearly doesn't need to be a CGI, you find it endearing rather than insulting.
All right, well, the Hutts look even worse than the rubber suit, is the thing. They look like... I know they're trying to put... This is an aside. This has nothing to do with Five Nights at Freddy's. This is an old argument he loves making fun of me for because it makes me really mad. And it does. Okay? I don't even know if I like Star Wars anymore. I think they're trying to make them look slimy, but they suck at it. So they just look like Xbox era models.
That's
Yeah,
just
because
what they
they're
look
just
like now.
glossy and weird and too many polygons. I hate it.
But these models, because they were practical and yet somehow managed to evoke that overly shiny CGI aesthetic.
Well, and the shapes and the colors in contrast to everything else around them. I think it's just really an accomplishment because they could have just shoved CGI models in there. It may have even been cheaper. I don't know. I don't know the price difference. But, you know.
Unless these days CGI is usually cheaper.
Sure.
Just because there's a lot of complex movie reasons. The short answer is that the non-computer people who do like special effects, yeah, they have unions.
Right. These mascots in the original game were inspired by the Showbiz Pizza mascots, which weren't... I mean, they were animatronics, but they were covered in, like, felt and cloth and fluff and stuff. They didn't look like robots the way the Five Nights at Freddy's guys do, because they were mediocre CGI when they were invented. So that they didn't go the route of, all right, let's dress this up and make them look like they would had they existed in the 80s as a children's pizza entertainment.
They just delivered the silhouette.
They delivered the silhouette and the colors and the textures, and it was real. And that is, I mean, I'm sure there was like CGI on the eyes or something. Then again, I don't know. This was Jim Henson Studios, so...
They certainly don't need it.
For all I know, Matthew Lillard was an animatronic, and he just phoned in his lines from home.
That's possible.
It's entirely possible.
But, like...
Made him look all sweaty, didn't need to make him look like an Xbox model. Just saying.
But, I like that it's another one of those little things of this movie's made for the people who already like this franchise. They delivered on what the characters look like in the games.
Yeah.
Which is... We live in a golden era of nerd entertainment and nerdy adaptations and that sort of thing. But even in a golden era, the DC movies still exist. So it is easy to see when it's still kind of a high ask when making a movie for you to just do the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Just do the thing that made the thing you're adapting popular in the first fucking place.
Now, they do put a lot of, I guess, pathos into the main character, Mike, played by Bread. In fact, I'd say the first third of the movie is giving him a backstory. Because, you know, you have to. I mean, you have to give a shit about the guy unless it's 80s slasher style and you're meant to be rooting for the robots. And you're not. You're supposed to sympathize with the main character. That's the horror of Five Nights at Freddy's the game. You're the main character. They're coming to get you, Barbara.
So, since it's not you, since this isn't Hardcore Henry or whatever that weird first-person movie a few years ago was.
Oh, buddy, a few...
Shut up. Shut you. Shut.
Talk about how slimy those Hutts are. Hardcore Henry.
10 is a few. It's just a little many. It's still good.
Yeah, just a little ancient. That was in the Netflix DVD era.
Woo. But it's not. Mike is a character now. Is the point I was getting to. So you have to give him something to do.
And I like what they did because they didn't make him just... They didn't do what I would have anticipated and just made him Matt Pat. Like, literally. Here's somebody you're already predisposed to like, theoretically. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I hate myself. And Matt Pat. Hate Matt Pat more. Just putting that out there.
Should have just let it sit. It was so good.
They like my pain. Does the comment if you like my pain.
Does the comment.
Like and subscribe if you guys just like listening to me suffer. We'll do a whole podcast about how mad I am about the Huts. You think I can't fill half an hour on it? I've almost filled half an hour on it here. But it would have been so much easier, theoretically, to make him a good guy, goody two-shoes, clean cut. We love him. He's the hero. But they don't. They make him kind of an asshole who's weirdly obsessed with something that happened in his childhood.
A very traumatic bad thing, but, like, it has been 20 years.
Justifiably, but, like, also weirdly. It can be both.
Yeah.
And to the negligence of all other things in his life. To jumping on a man and beating the shit out of him just in case.
A man who... They make him a guy who is sleepwalking his way through his existence.
Yes. When he's supposed to be responsible for his younger sister and, you know, anything else.
And it's just... It's good character work in a movie that certainly didn't call for it. It's one of those things that makes me say this movie's much better than I expected it to be, because I very much expected him to do the thing he said. Just make it a YouTuber or someone we're already supposed to like, and then have them get jump scared for 2.5 hours, and that's what... It's just a...
Make it more of a slapstick film.
Yeah, basically, I was expecting it to be goofy in that the main point of the movie was going to be focused around the main character being scared,
Right.
performatively,
Right.
because that's what drew people into the series in the first place. I'm going to be honest, it's mostly not the games that drew people in, it's mostly watching other people play the games that drew people in.
Right. But they make him believable, and man, they managed to straddle that line between making him kind of an asshole, but still an underdog. Like, you do want to root for him.
You want him to get his shit together.
Yeah, and and
there is an element of annoyance there. It's not that you're just uncritically rooting for him. There is an element of frustration in you want him to get his shit together. Get your shit together.
But it's you want him to get his shit together and not come back when you've gotten your shit together.
Yeah, it's not past the point where you're like, you are too frustrating to watch. It is compelling. It is a compelling narrative about you want to see this dude succeed, and you are frustrated that he is still not getting it in a positive way, in a way that's good for the movie.
I mean,
that's a hard line to draw.
Yeah, another mark to its credit, and I mean, there's so many factors that go into this: writing, acting, directing, timing. You know, they do the most stereotypical children's movie plot of young child is about to be adopted by evil rich family. Gotta raise a bunch of money to save the orphanage from being burned down or whatever.
It is, look, there are things that... This movie isn't perfect. This movie is very by the numbers in terms of, like, its general plot structure.
But the important thing is that they executed it well. As silly as parts of that were, as maybe unrealistic as they might have been, they played them with exactly the right timbre that I wasn't like, this shit again.
And by unrealistic things, he's not talking about the animatronic murder bots. He's talking about the human relationships between what are ostensibly real people.
Well, and I would say unrealistic, but I know people who've worked in children's services. This is entirely realistic. It's just not... It seems... because Hollywood has leaned on it so much, especially during my formative years.
It's the thing where it's the kind of unthinking... mean for no reason, dickhead bully that Stephen King writes. That guy exists, but it's so much a cliche that even if it actually does happen, it feels unrealistic.
Banana peels are kind of slippery.
Exactly.
But they managed to do it really well. All of it ended up being really good. There's several times I laughed out loud during this movie.
I don't know if I ever laughed out loud, except during the weird tonal shift.
I don't know, man. The lawyer was pretty funny.
The lawyer was funny. I will give you that. But I want to talk about the weird tonal shift.
Yeah, I talk about the weird tonal shift. Talk about the things you didn't like about this movie.
So it's not even. First off, I didn't. It's not that I dislike the tonal. I'm gonna explain what it is because I don't like. I'm tired of using that term.
Tonal shift.
So they have to work in both the original concept, which is murder bots, animatronic murder bots. They're coming to get you, Barbara. You gotta deal with that. They're coming up the hill right now. Press A. And then they also have to work in the weird retcon lore of these are the good guys, actually. The murder bots, they're nice. They just want to protect you and protect the restaurant from the real bad guy, Springtrap. They're secretly the ghosts of murdered children or whatever. That's new. That was added in later. And it doesn't match tonally with the original concept of the movie.
No, in fact, I was somebody else we watched it with. I played the first phone call for them later that night, and like they lay it all out in there. The story of how the bots work and what the problem is and what's going to happen if they get you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just there's nothing about murdered children. I mean, there was stuff in the first game, but it wasn't.
The animatronic murder bots killed kids.
Yes.
But they were not the ghosts of those therefore killed kids. That was added in later because these characters are very popular and they sell merch, so you gotta make them relatable. At
this point, most of the characters are just good guys or malfunctioning.
Exactly. So they've honestly, it's hilarious because I think the second game is about like a later franchise of the same restaurant where everything's simpler and more cartoonish and over the top and softer, and the actual franchise has done that. But what that means is that you have to give a fun play scene where they all have a big party and make a pillow fort with the main character and the murder animatronic bots and the little girl. And
I really appreciate that you said the little girl like the Langoliers.
I did, on purpose.
Thank you. This is me commenting on our video live.
And they have like a big musical number and a dance sequence, and it's just so fucking out of left field, and then it's gone. That happens, and then it ends with a big, she shocked herself on Bonnie's guitar. That
was a little weird.
And then, it cuts hard left into children's movie, and then hard right back into horror movie, and then one character threatens to shoot another within, like, a 3-minute span. And it sucked me all the way out of the movie.
Well, at that point, Vanessa's the one who threatens shooting. I wondered what her role was going to be. So for that reason, me, as somebody who has knowledge of the lore, is asking, is she a villain, secretly? Is she helping her dad? It left me guessing. So as much as, yeah, you're absolutely right, that was tonal whiplash.
And whiplash is back because at the end, the animatronic murder bots are trying to kill them. Like, immediately after that, the animatronic murder bots want to kill the little girl.
They very poorly explain that Afton has some kind of weird power over them. And it is even more poorly explained that it's basically because he fucked with their memories by drawing a picture of how much they love him and putting it on their picture wall.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about when I say the movie isn't terribly interested in people who aren't already fans of this franchise knowing what the fuck is going on. Because I got that because I can watch a movie and I have a functional cerebellum, but they didn't explain it.
No. But I don't know that you need to. I
like that they didn't explain it. I like that just fucking happened, okay?
Even if you understand all the steps they took to get there, the question that you would have asked if you didn't still exists. Why did that work like that? And the answer is, I don't know.
The answer is, shut up, don't think about it. I like that they didn't explain it. Because I like that this fucking weird thing just happened, and the characters in the universe had some sort of in-universe context that made this quite clear to all of them.
Well, and she mentions that they understand better through drawings and stuff.
And they seed stuff so that you as the normie audience member, even so much as I am, that slightly one step back removed from the lore people, can get it because they seed early in the movie that drawings and images are very important and that they're going to be important in the movie. They spend a lot of time on that so that you're mentally keyed up to expect that to be important. So when it becomes inexplicably important later, you're not It's not. It doesn't come across as insane. It comes across as, oh, okay, oh, we're doing this, okay.
This barely makes sense within context, but the evil is defeated. Hold up the little frog. Move on with your life.
Yeah, it doesn't. I like that. But the other big thing I don't like about this movie. Oh, this is a fun bit. I don't have one.
Oh, okay. I thought there was going to be more than that.
No, it's really just that I was thinking about the other thing that I was gonna say, and I realized no, I like that.
Well, we've got a minute to fill. Do you want to? What was the other thing you were going to say?
Well, I was gonna complain a little bit about the way the movie the dream sequence.
They did play it a lot.
They played it a lot, but and they made it really important. And as I understand it, that is just new.
Okay, so yeah and no.
But like I realized that even whether or not it was, I don't care, because they did stuff with it that was interesting in the film, and it had a nice climactic bow on it. So I like it.
I don't know that it was necessary. I think this was an hour and 45 minutes. You probably could have cut it down to an hour and 40 by trimming those dream sequences some. But it was fine. I don't need that 5 minutes that bad.
Yeah, no, I realized halfway through making the complaint that I was wrong. It was fine.
Yeah.
It is really just the weird dance number in the middle. To use a very ancient internet phrase, the big licked alligator moment in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. Memories. Hey, at least they didn't just burst into acoustic singing for no reason. Who would do such a thing? Yeah, the movie did really well. I am now just deciding to look this up. Matt Lillard signed for a 3-picture deal.
Yeah, we're watching the other two.
I know, right?
I will watch however many movies this gets.
I might see these in theaters, the rest of them. I really liked this. I mean, is it a perfect movie? No.
No, but it's such an unrealistically high bar to hold a movie to.
It was really fun. Whatever complaints I could have about it, I choose not to. And Matthew Lillard was there. Long-time listeners, you know how important he is to us.
He is the sixth nerd.